Welcome to the Rachel Varga podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Varga, double board certified aesthetic nurse specialist since 2011 with over 20,000 rejuvenation procedures performed. I'm an international clinical trainer for other physicians and nurses as well, celebrity skin expert, having been featured on some of the world's top proactive aging podcasts, and much, much more. Learn more at rachelvarga.ca and enjoy today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode on the Rachel Varga podcast. I am your host, a humble human on a mission, here to help you achieve and receive the best hair, skin, and nails of your life, all while actually slowing your aging down instead of contributing to toxicity, which is what most beautification products and techniques are doing, which isn't doing you any favors. So the approach that I like to take here on the show are body, mind, spirit, energy optimization, and detoxification strategies to help you become your brightest, lightest, most radiant, high vibe self. In today's show, we are going to discuss detoxing and the skin. In case you don't know this, the skin is actually one of the largest detoxification organs. It is at our disposal. We sweat through it, but we can also absorb toxins through the skin also. So in today's show, we're not only going to talk about what say I can do to keep my body, mind, spirit, and energy pure from toxins, but we're also going to talk about maybe some strategies for the whole family and how to create a healthy home with one of my good friends, Vanessa Grutman. She is a fellow Canadian, and we've known each other through the skin and aesthetics industry. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Vanessa is an inspired leader and mom, passionate about all things health, entrepreneurship, nature, motherhood, and living her best life. She's a kinesiologist and certified integrated health practitioner, and she's on a journey to elevate her vitality and invites her community and you to join her in doing the same. Through her own healing journey, she dedicated the last 15 years to bettering her and her family's health, and as a result, has acquired an incredible amount of learning and non-traditional wisdom that she coaches on. She's the co-founder of Project Skin MD, a network of medical aesthetic clinics designed to help people age gracefully. She left the city life to live in nature before the pandemic and accelerated her healing. After 12 years in BC, she recently moved back to Quebec, where she continues to follow her call to nature. After months on the hunt for the perfect property, her and her family are now settling on an acreage where she plans to deepen her connection with nature. You can find her mainly on Instagram and join her community via her monthly newsletter and free 7-day detox course. You can also work one-on-one with her in her 3-month coaching program, The Energy Upgrade. Welcome, Vanessa. How are you today?
Thank you, Rachel, so much for having me.
It's great to have you here on the show. You've been here before, and we are matching with white tops. Isn't that darling?
Yes, and I have my salt rock light as well.
Nice. Very good.
Purifying the air.
So what I'm really excited to talk about with you, Vanessa, is how to keep our homes pure, how to do this whole detoxification stuff with the family, and walk me through your history with biohacking. I know you're a biohacker. Let's just start off with that. What are you doing to biohack your home?
Oh my goodness, what am I not doing? We actually did something crazy recently. We did a reno in our new home and decided to do a non-toxic renovation by only picking elements that were free of glue and formaldehyde and MDF and all the things that off gas for years and toxify our air, unfortunately. So to begin with, I guess I don't know where to begin because there's so many things to do. And we documented that journey on YouTube if ever that's something of interest. But I think the best way is to keep it simple. And for homes, I like to use things like air purifiers. That's the biggest biohack. We say that the air in our homes is about 50 times worse than the air that we breathe outside in terms of toxins. So it's a low-hanging fruit. It's somewhere we can start with putting air purifiers in the bedrooms. That's something I do for my kids as well.
And wonderful. Yeah, I've been talking about that loads too. I just sent you a quick note in the background. Just hit that red dot. Yes, biohacking the home is so incredibly important. I have gone into many deep dives on adding air purifiers, making sure your water is purified, getting rid of those LED lights, reducing your EMFs in the home by turning off the router at night and no Bluetooth in the home. And by the way, like with your kids, I'm sure you're doing this as well, but making sure that if they are on a device, that it is on airplane mode and doesn't have a lot of these social networking apps, because there's some weird things going on with that. And detoxing. So we've talked about air purifiers. What are you doing with, say, your kids for detoxing? Are you guys doing cold therapy? Are you doing hot therapy? I know you had a sunlight and sauna. Are you doing that still?
To do the cold plunging with kids, it's hard to do any pure like detoxification protocol with them as well, because they don't like to take supplements. So I've become really good in hiding stuff in their morning smoothie. But the fastest way for us to detoxify with kids has been the infrared sauna. I normally am able to get them in there for 15 minutes or until they sweat a lot and they feel a bit of discomfort. And I'm able to use a binder with them as well. So I'll normally put like half a cup of charcoal in their water. They don't really see it or taste it. And then I get them sweating in the sauna. And I usually have the TV nearby, so they have an incentive to stay in. So that's been one way that's been really successful. And in fact, we had a really bad mold exposure a couple years ago. Complete bad luck, but the kids were affected pretty severely. And so the sauna was really the reason why we decided to bite the bullet and purchase one in our home. It became really the fastest way to detoxify from mold, heavy metals as well. And so it's really part of our weekly routine. It's something we do 3 to 4 times a week. It's, to me, it's one of the best way to eliminate toxins. And as you said in your intro, which was completely right, the skin is our largest organ, and it's one of the 4 ways we detoxify. So through sweat, it's amazing the things we can get out. But I always say, if you're sweating in the sauna, it's important to remove the sweat as it's coming off, because otherwise the toxins are being reabsorbed, which defeats the purpose in the first place.
I completely agree with you. The importance of ensuring that we are rinsing off immediately afterwards, because if you're working out and you're sweating, you're actually getting more toxins out of you when you're doing an infrared or near infrared sauna. And if you're curious about which saunas that I recommend, go ahead and hit up my favorites page over at rachelvarga.ca/favorites. You'll see the sunlight and saunas there, as well as promo codes and affiliate links to help save you some money and continue to support the free content here on the show. And speaking of content here on the show, today's show is sponsored by Organifi. I'm sipping on their red juice right now. Go ahead and pick up your Organifi products over at Organifi.com/Varga. You can also find it on the favorites page. Use promo code Varga and save 20% on your next order. I love the green juice in original. It's kind of like a morning matcha. I'm kind of one of those weird people that like it warm because I love matcha in the morning. And then I love to put either the gold or the harmony in my coffee, or if I'm not having coffee that morning, I have it on its own. And the red juice is fantabulous, just whenever you want that little hit of energy, because I do love to intermittent fast, but I also love to have things throughout the day that are delicious, that are hydrating, and they're nutrient dense. And Organifi's products are superfood juice powder blends. So instead of having to go and juice stuff yourself or go pick up a juice that's going to be like $8 to $12 from the shop, you can actually have your own juice blends in a powder format. Great for kids too, actually. Vanessa, this would be something that would be awesome for you to use with your kids if you're not already, because it's tasty. You're getting your minerals, you're getting your adaptogens, and it's also glyphosate free and won't break your fast. So once again, use promo code Varga and save on your next order at Organifi.com/Varga. And thanks to Organifi for sponsoring our show. Do you think you might use something like that with your kids if you aren't already?
I do. And actually, great minds think alike, because I'm sipping on their hard to kill chugga chai, their newest.
Of course
one.
you are.
But yes, I actually, that's a great point. I do love all these greens and red combination, of course, when they're well sourced, and Organifi is just off the chart in terms of amazingness. But with kids, that's a wonderful hack because you're able to get more nutrients in them, more antioxidants. Some of those, sometimes like the mushrooms and the things that will help with boosting their immunity. So morning smoothies with kids is really the way that you can hide all the stuff in there.
That's so adorable that you're already using. I was hoping you were, because if I was a kid, I would so be sipping on this. I'd be like, yeah, Mom, I want some of that instead of that juice that's got like 30 grams of sugar.
Yeah, that's a no in our home. Sugar, they know, and they know how it feels on them too. We actually just completed a huge 3-month candida cleanse, the whole family. And let me tell you, that was next level. Trying to do a candida cleanse with kids is a commitment because, of course, no sugar, no processed food, no grains. Like, it's basically just whole food nutrition is allowed. So I had to be really creative and rethink how I was feeding them. And it actually was such a wonderful process because they got to discover a lot of new foods, they got to try different things, and they got to heal at the same time, heal their gut. And we saw just phenomenal results just in terms of their behavior, just like more grounded, more calm, less outbursts, less anxiety, more presence, just wonderful things. But of course, it takes commitments. 12 weeks.
Yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more about your family detox and parasite cleansing journey. If you've just tuned into the show, I've been doing a lot of audio only stuff on the Rachel Varga podcast on iTunes, Spotify, all major podcast platforms. That's where I drop my audio only stuff. YouTube here is where I do my interviews. And be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment on this episode. Let me know what you want to learn more about or what you find interesting. And I personally have done a huge cleanse, like a 5 months of parasites, yeast, fungi, toxins, organisms, because I'm in that glorious preconception mode. But I'm coming to the realization that we should always be in this type of mode. Why are we taking such good care of ourselves when we're getting ready to make a human, making a human, and then feeding that human? Why don't we just do that all the time? So for myself, what I'm doing for myself and my future family is going to be instilling regular detoxing with antiparasitics around the full moon, and every quarter actually doing like a bit of like a month of clearing things out, getting super alkaline, taking specific herbs. And I do love the Purium detox program that you can also find on my favorites page. There's like a $105 coupon code there for you to use. That's what really got me started. But how did you do it? I know you said you did a candida cleanse, but what did that look like when you started?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations. I didn't know that you were in that mode, so that's exciting.
It's for like a year and a half, no big deal.
Well,
I'm doing it right.
Well, you know what? Nowadays, unfortunately, we live in a toxic world. That's just the reality of it. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for success. Like, we see all these high rates of autism and, problems. And we know that those are related to toxins in our environment. So detoxing before conceiving is absolutely the right thing to do. Heavy metals, parasites, candida, getting all of that out of the body is absolutely necessary if you want to have a smooth journey after. So I like to give the analogy. This is something I learned from my mentor, Dr. Stephen Cabral. He talks about this rain barrel effect analogy, and I think it's really illuminating when you look at it that way. Our bodies are like the rain barrels, and as we go through our days, we get exposed to toxins. So see those as the rain coming in the rain barrel. And when our rain barrel becomes full, it starts to overflow. And that's when we start having symptoms of discomfort, things like brain fog, headaches, inflammation, joint pain, muscle pain, bloating, things that a lot of us associate to aging, when in fact it's absolutely not normal. And so when our rain barrel overflows, then that's when we start having also this collection of symptoms that we name a dis-ease, but in fact, it's really just this collection of things that are going wrong with the body. And so the only way to empty that rain barrel is to do a detox on a regular basis. So I like to do them on a seasonal basis. So every 3 to 4 months, our family is detoxing. And that's always the first step in any protocol, is to really making sure our liver is functioning properly. Our liver filters our blood every 6 minutes. And so if it's not in good shape, if it's clogged up, then it's not doing its job, and then our blood is not clean, and that leads to disease and other problems. So that's always where I begin, is emptying the rain barrel, because we don't live in a bubble, and I don't want to live in a bubble. I want to live a happy life with my kids. I want to be out there and enjoy every moment. So this liver detoxification helps reduce my toxic load so that my body becomes more resilient to any stress coming my way, because we know there's no shortage of that.
Well, it depends where you are in the world, but up here in the north, Vanessa and I, in Canada, we've gone through it. Let me tell you, we've gone through it. We have gone through it, and we're out on the other end even better than ever. And it's so important to stay pure, to stay resilient, even through tough times. And that's what adaptogens do. That's what I love. That's what I love about things like Organifi products, is they give your body adaptogens. And I have a bunch of products over here to my left. Actually, if I were to show you, a little sneak peek here. Why don't we show you my little office here?
Oh, I love it. Well, I have a room like that also downstairs. I call it my bunker. Oh, you muted yourself somehow.
So my favorite products are for adaptogen support are the Ad Reset, the Nucera, and the Exhilarin that you can actually get on my e-store at rachelvarga.ca. I actually have bottles of those handy for when I need them. And if you're just like at the first start of stress, just start taking your adaptogens, and then it will actually allow you to move through stress with a greater sense of ease. And I find if I'm kind of stressed out, or just recently I was speaking in Miami, I took my adaptogens so I wasn't nervous, so I could perform well. And I was cool as a cucumber. I find you don't even have to take them all the time. It's just kind of when you need them. But what kind of adaptogens do you like to take to stay resilient?
Yeah, I recommend actually to all my clients. I work with high achieving women. So women like us, type A a little bit, that are just wanting to get stuff done. And so to me, ashwagandha is my number one. Like, I just love it. And so there's a formulation that I use that has that, supported with also like an activated B complex, just to buffer stress. But ashwagandha is number one for me, my favorite. Anyway, I respond really well on it. My clients respond really well on it. And like you said, it really just gives me this nice, just more resilient. Of course, I took it before this as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I've been taking mine the last couple of nights because I am in this like transformation mode where I'm switching a whole bunch of things up in my life. It's all very exciting. But when you do that, big changes come with discomfort.
Big stress.
Yeah. And if you're not in a little bit of stress sometimes and kind of like, oh, this feels uncomfortable, you're not growing, you're staying in a safe zone and all of that. So speaking of safe zones, Vanessa and I have a really interesting journey together because we actually met each other in the medical aesthetics space. And no, what we talk about on the show here is not medical advice, it's educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. Bonus points if you can find one with the Western training meets the functional training meets the insights into all the good stuff in between as well. So just a little bonus tip there. But what I want to talk about here, which I think is really relevant because our earth is going through static, it's going through evolutionary processes. We're seeing women working differently now. It's no longer let's work like a man, let's be in our masculine, because that makes us sick and very unsexy. And when we feel safe, when we are in our deep feminine, we are on fire and smoking hot. So Vanessa and I have both completely changed the way that we work, which is very exciting so that we can have more time for ourselves, to be with our families, and focus on our health and wellness. So let's get into the how and why. Maybe let's get a little personal here. Why Vanessa and I both made the shift from just being in the aesthetic rejuvenation box, because you co-founded a highly successful clinic on the west coast of Canada. In fact, the one that I thought had the best website, the best looking clinic. You nailed it. You did such a good job.
Yes,
You
thank
crushed
you.
that. Yeah, of course. But we shifted from this in the depths of aesthetic rejuvenation, medical aesthetic, Western medical aesthetic rejuvenation to be specific, to now functional, slowing aging, health optimization. Why did you do it?
And I mean, I still have a feet in that, right? And I still have the highest regard and highest respect for that. I've always been, and even when we set to design Project Scan, I've always been about beauty from the inside out. And I know that you have as well. And to me, it's not just like a cliche, oh, I really meant it, but it's interesting over my own experience over the years, how it became more and more clear that yes, you can put a lot of things topically on your skin, but at the end of the day, your skin also reflects the state of your inside. So it became so evident, and through, observing and seeing, when we designed Project Skin, I was on the business side. I'm not a practitioner like you were. But of course, I saw on the sidelines patients coming in, and I just couldn't help but thinking, well, this person has a candida problem for sure. That's why they have this acne. Or this person with this rash, of course, they probably have like a parasites, or, so it became really evident to me that both can coexist, but we can't. I don't think, and especially for the 5 years to come, I think we cannot put our head in the sand anymore. And we have to look at how the body is doing. And going back to this rain barrel analogy, it's the same thing for the skin. That's when you start seeing the skin, melasma showing up, that glow leaving the skin. That's a pure reflection of what's going on in the inside. So to me, it was just like this natural evolution of my own experience and observing on the sidelines patients going through experiences. And yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, for myself, I sort of felt like, well, let's just start with taking the observer researcher position. Because I had written my first academic paper, I was noticing what certain clients that were doing, that were thriving, what they were doing to look super vibrant, so that when they met with me in their 60s to 90s, I was looking at them, I'm like, well, I think you're doing a lot right with your lifestyle. What are you doing with your body, mind, spirit, and energy practices? And I started to take notes, and then I wrote my ebook, Unlocking Your Vitality, which you can purchase at rachelvarga.ca for $14.44. And so that's basically like their playbook of what these high vibrating people were doing to live their best lives. But they would show up, they say, Rachel, I feel really great on the inside. I have the energy of like a 25-year-old, but I have sunspots, I have fine lines, wrinkles, losing some hair, want to get some more collagen and elastin. What can you do for me? And so that's when I was thinking, okay, we can't do everything with just the Western medical aesthetics model. And then I started to take this other approach of looking at what Europeans were doing. And as you know, there's a lot of really cool European med spas out there that are like retreats, and they do all the functional stuff. They do all the lab stuff. I did like 2 test kits last night and this morning for a whole bunch of cool things just to monitor things and detoxing. Because the funny thing, when I started to go down this route and journey of functional wellness, of biohacking alongside the skincare, dermal rolling, lasers, and other rejuvenation options, the frequency that I used to previously have to do things in the clinic, like facials, lasers, maybe some even injectables, I was like, what the heck? I'm like triple the time that I usually would have needed to go in and get an IPL for brown spots or neuromodulators for fine lines and wrinkles. I'm like, what's going on here? And it's because I started to see the benefits of slowing aging, having decreased inflammation. My skin was better. It was actually saving me a lot of time, obviously money. I have access to everything with this stuff, right, in the industry. But like for the consumer to teach this is so cool. So this is what I teach people. how to do the at-home stuff and then the in-clinic stuff, but do the at-home stuff in a way that you're almost doing the heavy lifting. And this is where my cool one-on-one sessions come in handy, which you can book with me at rachelvarga.ca. If we haven't yet met, use promo code podcast15. I would love to meet you. Let's work together and I'll help you come up with an at-home and an in-clinic plan. And you do this for detoxing. You work with people one-on-one to help them detox their homes and their families. And you have a program as well too. So tell us a little bit about your detox community that you have formed.
Yeah, the detox community is really a supportive group that I've created for anybody wanting to detox, but not knowing where to begin because it can be very overwhelming. Then there's like, okay, what's the difference between a juice cleanse, a liver detox, functional medicine? So I kind of break that all down in there, and it's free. So it's free support. I support a week before, a week during, and a week after, because there's a lot, like massive transformations happening in just 7 days. It's insane when you just set your mind to it, and when you decide to prioritize yourself and you decide to shed what doesn't serve anymore, you know, magic really happens. And so I offer it now monthly because it was so popular. So I open a group every month now. I have one more until the end of the year at the end of November. And I feel so honored to be supporting women in their transformation. And to me, the detox is really, like I said earlier, the first step of the roadmap to healing and really addressing root cause issues. I like to do the detox first, then I like to do the parasite cleanse, then I like to go into candida and things like that. But yeah, so the detox community is free. It's something that you can join whenever our next group starts. And it's just great to have a supporting environment, because in the 7-day detox that I run, the first 2 days are fasted. And so if you're new to this fasting state, it can take you off guard. I always say it's a lot more about what's happening in your head, because our body's trying to keep us safe and our head is saying, you should eat, you're feeling weak. But so it's a lot of this emotional shadow work that we have to do during the first 2 days. So I like to be right there with all the participants and make sure they feel supported.
That's great. And you can join Vanessa's detox community at vanessagrutman.com/detox-community. And that link is in the show notes. I'm a huge fan of biohacking all the time, and then doing those detoxification, using the products, doing the cleanses once a month with the full moon. One of my favorite things to do around the full moon is actually the Biooptimizer's Paragard. Love that one. And you can get that on my favorites page as well. You'll see a Biooptimizer's affiliate link, promo code to save some money. But I'm a huge fan of, again, just to reiterate, air, water, lighting, electromagnetics all the time, paying attention to that in your home and mitigating and purifying as much as possible. Because what you said before about the blood, it's all about the blood. Mm-hmm. What the most wealthy people are investing in right now and learning about, and I learned this in Miami at the Biohacker Live conference that I headlined. These are stem cell docs, right? These are the people on the cutting edge they're the cowboys. So if we're to think about the aesthetics community, people doing, Botox fillers in the 90s, figuring this stuff out. How does it work? What are the nuances? How do we do this? How do we make the products better? How do we make the application better? So people don't get things like droopy eyelids and droopy faces. And that's where these guys are now. These guys are the pioneers that are figuring out how to capitalize on things like biomimetic agents, which is exciting. And what the big study is now for the blood is hooking up a young rat to an old rat, literally connecting their circulatory systems. And what that does is that then makes the old rat young again at the expense of the young rat. So clearly there are some ethical dilemmas with this type of parabiosis approach, but this is where things are going. The top wealthiest people in the world are looking at the blood. And I definitely feel that electromagnetics is one of the biggest ways, EMFs and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, Smart cars, right? All these electric cars. I mean, you probably have one because you're all eco, but
I have a harmonizing tool also in the car. I do have a Tesla, and we found a house that didn't have, I have this app to find where 5G towers are. And the house that we picked was really by design. There is no 5G tower anywhere close. So I completely agree with you on the EMF.
Yeah, because what it does is it makes your red blood cells stick together so that you don't get good blood flow and oxygenation and nutrient delivery to your skin, your brain, your organs. And then you also don't get detoxification of CO2, metabolic waste products when you're detoxing. So there's really no point detoxing if you're not biohacking to first clean up your environment to support the healing process. But what is that like for you? Because I think the dilemma that I have is I might become one of those moms that's like, oh, maybe do this instead, or maybe don't do that. It's not good for you. Like, how do you approach that with your kid so that you don't end up being too kind of strict and OCD with the whole biohacking, living healthily? Because I've seen this before in some of our family friends that were also amazing, amazing healers, but they just kind of went like a little too far over here with their kids. So how do you warm the kids into biohacking and being healthy?
Oh my God, such a great question. And I ask myself this every single day. My approach is I try to tell them what I'm doing. So I'm really trying to walk the talk. And then they're curious. Kids are curious by nature. So I let them be curious. I let them ask questions. And then I tell them. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm answering I'm trying to make it empowering so that they have the knowledge to decide for themselves. And then I let them be. And interestingly enough, I find that most often than not, they want to make the right choice. They want to feel good. I think the best gift I've given my kids, and they're only 5 and 8, so they're still young, but I connected them to their body. So now they can see if they go to a birthday party, I let them be. They have their candies and they have their cake. When they come back, they tell me. I don't say anything. They tell me, Mom, I shouldn't have taken that. I don't feel good. So I think what's really empowering about that is I make them do the connection. And I think that's how kids learn, right? That's how we've kind of taken that away with the whole school system, but that's another tangent for another day. But it's really just about, I'm in my truth. I'm doing the things, and they're actually intrigued and really curious about it. And so I tell them, and they see me fasting, and I'm really trying to explain to them why I'm doing it. I don't want them to have this turn into an eating disorder. I'm not saying that food is bad. We're really just talking about, why is mommy doing this? And most often than not, they know it's to be with them and to have energy for as long as possible, and to have energy with their kids when they have kids, and to just be that vibrant person and woman to support them. And they seem to be really, understanding that.
Oh, the H word, the homeschooling word. I will say that a number of my girlfriends over the last little while here up in Canada decided to homeschool their kids for a couple of different reasons. But I think one of the coolest reasons to homeschool your kids and get them out of these schools built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s is mold exposure.
Yeah.
Mold exposure in schools is brutal, not to mention asbestos. So we have all these super healthy, high vibe people that are now bringing their kids into these homeschool pods. They're having healthy snacks. They're in healthy homes. And it's really fascinating to witness the shift that my girlfriends have gone through to raise their kids in a way that they feel is in their highest good and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. So we actually did the homeschooling when we moved from BC a year ago. It was a lot of changes for our kids, a lot of uprooting. And so I decided to homeschool them just to give them a chance to bounce back. And it was such an enlightening experience, just to see how, like, they're curious by nature, and somehow we've been completely removing that. They want to learn. They want to do well. They want to be good at what they're doing. And so they'll find the resources. And so just creating the environment to let that be is so great. But it was an extra stress. I'm not going to lie. Like, again, maybe because I'm a high achiever, a high performer, I was like, oh, am I really the best teacher here? Am I doing the right thing? And so we decided to put them back in school. But the school that they're in right now is in the small village where we landed. There's 80 students. So every family knows each other. It's half of the classes are outside in nature. So I felt really good about that. I feel like that's the best of both worlds. Kids are thriving with their immediate community, which I think that really made me realize how, your immediate community is vital in these days and age. So, but yeah, homeschooling really, really opened my mind big time.
Yeah, good for you. Because it's a challenge, but like I said, you listening are probably from the US, some of you from Canada, some of you from Ireland, UK, all over the place, but primarily in the USA. And yeah, it's been neat coming out of these last couple of years on the other end with the best health of our lives, even though we were maybe made fun of for just sticking with what's tried and true. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So speaking of how do toxins enter the body, what are the most common ways that toxins enter the body that you've come to learn about?
The one thing I'm realizing with my clients is water. Most of the people I work with are drinking tap water. And I always preface this by saying, I'm extremely grateful, and I feel like it may sound like a privileged comment, but I'm extremely grateful that we do have access to tap water. But at the end of the day, we know that if we want to have our optimal health, tap water these days is so contaminated. It's fluoride, chlorine, it's farm runoff, it's pharmaceuticals, it's heavy metals, mercury, arsenic, all the things that are completely detrimental. And with my clients, the mere fact of changing their water source is it's a turning point. And how easy is that? So anyway, I would say water is like the easiest thing. Making sure you're having filtered or spring water is critical. And I would say even more so with your kids. Kids are sponges. They will keep that stuff in their body, and they're smaller, so they're more impacted than we are. And me and my family, we found out also by doing some genetic testing that we have the MTHFR genes, like about 30% of the population, which means we have a hard time detoxifying on our own. So we always need support like B vitamins and folate to help us get rid of those toxins. And I see it, especially in my daughter. She's so sensitive. Even just going into a pool that has chlorine, I can see the shift within 30 minutes in her. Like, she'll start yawning. She's always looking for oxygen. She's really struggling. So now I have a whole other protocol for her when she's entering the pool. It's like binder, electrolytes, the whole thing. But water to me is number one. Then there's air. Like I talked about, we think our homes are our sacred space. We come here and we feel safe, but it's mind-blowing to see how our homes now are making us sick. In fact, there's even a term. If you Google home syndrome, you can now be sick. Chronic disease can form in your home when you think you're safe. So in this renovation, I was really particular in like the couches we bought and all the rugs we bought. And I was really, really careful finding textile that doesn't have flame retardants and added glues and things like that, because, especially a couch, let's say my kids are watching a movie and they're just, laying down on it. And I don't want extra toxins to be absorbed into their skin. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. It's also something called toxic building syndrome. And so not only in your home, but also in your office where you're living, where you're spending a lot of your time, it's hard to have total control over your environment to support your biology. That's what biohacking is, the art and science of hacking your environment to support your biology. Yeah, I actually just sent off my DNA test kit. Use promo code Varga and save on your DNA company test kit. And what's cool about this is they actually look, it's a Canadian company, Kashif Khan, he's a rad dude. They protect your privacy, all sorts of stuff. But you can actually test for neurotransmitters. And for kids, you can see how to best support their learning and their environment, their foods, and all sorts of really cool things. I also am that person during renovations. We're kind of just finishing renovations here where I am. We did all organic carpets and as clean underlay as possible, non-toxic paint, had the air purifiers going nonstop, like probably 4 of them, just because the off-gassing is pretty continuous. No LED lights in the home. It's all halogen. The electricians, I told them when they were doing the job, no LEDs. No LEDs, please. Halogen only. They installed LEDs. They're like, oh, you can dim it. You can put it on warm setting. I'm like, nope, those gotta go. Halogen only, as I requested. They actually gave me some flack. They're like, well, you're the homeowner. You know, it was very strange. It's very strange. So if you are pulling this move of changing your LED lights to halogen, just expect some weird sideways looks because LED is more efficient, it's more cost effective, but it's a very narrow bandwidth of light, and blue light is really harmful for your circadian rhythm and your skin. Blue light reaches 100 nanometers deeper into your skin than the UVA and the UVB that you get outside. That's why I'm wearing my Viva rays. It is blocking the harmful light from my computer, from my studio lighting here. And you can also get the Viva rays on my favorites page too. I think they're pretty stylish. But would you say for biohacking, Vanessa, it's not the most feminine looking style, some of those biohacking gear out there? Would you agree?
You know, we do need to push the women's side of it a bit more, but I think you're rocking those. They're looking good. I have the one thing you mentioned also, like the EMF. I like the EMF blankets. I like the EMF. I have these headphones.
Oh, I sleep in silver blankets. Are you kidding me? I'm business on top as usual. EMF pants down below. Silver lined pants. No choice. Lambs make some great stuff. Get them on the favorites page at rachelvarga.ca.
If you're trying to get pregnant, like that's no question, like that's gotta happen because there's lots of studies showing that too. So
and I'm that person at the airport asking for the pat down because
me too.
If I go through that X-ray machine with all of this silver line stuff that I'm wearing, I would just show up as this like yellow thing. My girlfriend did that recently. And like the airport security manager had to come out. They're like, what are you wearing? Why are you yellow? Like, what is underneath what you're wearing? They were like very concerned. So just go for the pat down, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And I was laughing when you talked about your electrician because my electrician thought I was absolutely crazy. I actually had to buy in bulk some halogen bulbs because they're almost impossible to find. And it was interesting because I asked him to put dimmers on absolutely every light. And he was like, but
Same.
Like here, you don't need it here. I'm like, everywhere. Just don't ask. Just put it everywhere.
Everywhere.
And like they definitely are all our workers, all our trades. They thought I was absolutely crazy. Like I'm having my kitchen made by this local, guy. And I'm like, no glue, solid wood only. He's just like, what? So it's hard. It's a dedication because you definitely are going against the mainstream. And it takes a lot of courage actually to take that journey, I find. And you have to be really, really deeply rooted in your conviction. And you have to know why you're doing it because everybody around is going to make fun of you. So
I did not appreciate the sentiments from the
Yeah.
tradespeople. It's like,
Yeah.
it's for health. It's like you might learn something, and you're probably going to have more customers down the line that are asking for this because this stuff is becoming a little bit more widely known. The fact that you're doing renovations like this, I've done renovations like this. There's lots more people that are requesting to have a different type of service. So it's like, there's going to be all these trades that are like biohacker friendly. Oh, speaking of water, I wanted to talk about water. So I was in Scottsdale recently, and there's all this bottled water everywhere. I never drink water out of plastic bottles because to me it's like dead water and I just feel gross. I can never get hydrated and all that. So what I do is I go and pick up some from Whole Foods, their carbonated mineral water or Pellegrino. That's what I'm sipping on now. And I always feel so good when I have my minerals. And I've also had the opportunity to test out hydrogen water. And I'm reporting back to all of you on hydrogen water. I found a really great company, Synergy Science. They are added on my e-store. Go down to the bottom. You'll see the hydrogen water. There's like this portable water bottle that you can use. There's a countertop pitcher. There's actually a little piece that you can connect to your reverse osmosis under the sink. And you can even program it to help support the detoxification processes and parasite detoxing. So this is like very technologically based now to actually make your water hydrogen water. There's over 1,000 studies on hydrogen water, and this particular mechanism that actually uses a specific type of plate to hydrogenate the water. And what that does is that it then makes the water an antioxidant. So you're not only drinking it for hydration and all of that, but it's also an antioxidant now, which is really fascinating. So that's a company I can get behind. It's on the favorites page. You can get your portable water bottle, your countertop version, all that. But the thing is, I gave my parents one of my AquaTrue, which is a countertop reverse osmosis, a couple $100, great place to start, especially if you're moving around, whatever, or you don't want to invest in a reverse osmosis unit. And my mom was babysitting some of the neighbors' kids. And after school, they came home and she knew they didn't really eat their lunches. And they were kind of like really cranky and very irritable. And then she just starts giving them cups of water from this like machine. And they're like so captivated. She gives it to them in this like cool glass goblet. And then right away, she just saw their mood shift. So just if you're listening to this, you got young ones, give them clean water, start biohacking their environment, and just like teach them what you're doing in your daily life. Isn't that funny though about my mom and the neighbors' kids and the reverse osmosis water?
I'm not surprised. I have a question for you about hydrogen water because I've experimented with that too and it felt so wonderful. So can you only drink that? So because I do have a reverse osmosis. Again, that's another thing. I invested thousands and thousands of dollars into making sure the water that comes into our home is as pure as possible. Even in the shower, everybody was like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "No, I don't want to shower with chlorine and heavy metals." But so if I was to do this under sink thing to my reverse osmosis water, can I drink this at all the time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't like OD on hydrogen water.
No. And then would you add mineral drops to it?
Oh,
Or
yes. I would always encourage remineralizing the water. That's why I love the idea of maybe taking like a Pellegrino or carbonated mineral water from Whole Foods. This is a really good one. It's like $1 cheaper than Pellegrino. Put that in your pitcher, put that in your water bottle, and then you're drinking mineralized hydrogen water. That's what I did to stay hydrated and full of nutrients and goodness on my recent 5 to 7 day fast that I did in Sedona and Utah in altitude in the desert. And I could only do that because I've done all the detoxing ahead of time. And the amount of energy that I gained from that, the mental clarity, the spiritual benefits, the intuitive benefits were off the charts. The mental clarity, just the whole experience, like that last little bit around my midsection on my body just melted. And along with that, toxins. So I would say hydrogen water is something really important. You should check out the company on my favorites page.
I will.
That company, because people have been asking me here on the show, audience members, community members, Rachel, what do you think about hydrogen water? What's this deal with hydrogen tablets and all this stuff? Just get a device that hydrogenates the water. with some proprietary technology. And I'll tell you, I was on it for like 10 days, almost 2 weeks, hydrogen water nonstop. And I felt so much more satisfied, mentally clear, and energized, even though I was eating a lot less and doing this longer fast. So
Yeah.
hydrogen water for the win, but I had to experiment with it first so I could truthfully and transparently report back.
Yeah, I was curious because I will use ozone water once in a while also. Like, to me, that's one hack. You were asking about kids. Like, every time someone is coming down with a cold or something, I have them drink ozone water and gargle with sea salt and ozone water. And that just is pure magic. But of course, you don't want to have ozone water all the time. But that works really well for our family.
Yeah, I can't really think of any considerations that you could OD on hydrogen water. I mean, that being said, this isn't medical advice. Biohackers are usually pretty darn keen on experimenting on themselves. So, go for it. Try it out. See how you feel. Do some labs before and afterwards. But the read for me was very clear that it did make me feel really good. But even if I just go with straight up carbonated mineralized water in a glass bottle, feels so much better than even just reverse osmosis.
Yeah. And then the next level is structuring the water. That's all the hype is about that too.
Yeah, I can talk about that. That's there's some tech that can allow you to do that in the home, but in nature, use your life straw, drink water from like a stream or a creek or whatever. That's structured water in its natural form. There are some ways to do it at home. You can get the arc pendant, and you can also use the Somavedic. So the Somavedic device, it's like this proprietary arrangement of precious metals and gemstones with an electric amplifier that emits a frequency. You put your water next to it, it does taste different. I actually did a blind test with hubby, and it does taste different. We compared tap water, reverse osmosis, and then structured water. But now I should do that again and add the hydrogen water. Yeah.
Yeah, we are using the Somavedic in our home, and also because it's a nice EMF harmonizer. We can actually feel the difference when it's plugged in. Like,
I've tested it.
And on the kids as well. Like, everybody's just more mellow. There's less highs and lows. It's just a wonderful tool to have at home.
You should actually maybe pick one of these up. Well, I think it's for practitioners only, but it's called the BioWell. And it actually gives you a readout of your human biofield and also your body's joule, which joule is the measurement of the energy in your body, mitochondria, hello, your joule output. As soon as I turned that Somavedic on, I tested everybody in the household before and after. Everybody had thicker human biofields, which is like this invisible shield, if you will.
Yeah.
And then increased joule output in their bodies. So I'm always skeptical. So this is why I love to test things. So the verdict is clear. Somavedic tech does something pretty cool with harmonizing energy and structuring water. So yeah, you can get that on the favorites page too. All these cool biohacks that you and I both use. It's awesome.
Yeah. And of course, the red light therapy that I know you're a big fan of, we can see in your background here also. But that's also such a great hack with kids because they don't mind sitting with some red light on them or close to them. Like my daughter the other day, I picked her up at school. She had done a terrible fall and her knee was literally double the size of the other one. And of course, the last thing I'll do is go to the clinic or the hospital. And so I just did all the mummy hacks. I pulled all the gear I had, and I have this, the light from True Light, the red light, and just did a mix of like exactly the one. I did 20 minutes of that, 20 minutes of icing, and literally within 3 cycles, it was back. And even her, she was like, what did you do, Mom? Like, what happened? Like, she was in excruciating pain. And like 60 minutes later, it was like, it was gone. So yeah, red light, you were asking about biohacking in the home. I can't live without that.
Well, red light it's also quite sexy. I mean,
and it's so good for the skin. And we've known this.
Very cool. Yeah.
We've known this for a while, and pair that with your detoxing, pair that with your dermal roller, which I was doing last night, thinking of you. I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta walk the talk, dermal rolling. But like,
Love it.
just always, I'm such a fan of like layering the hacks, right? Just amplifying, seeing how far we can take this. But for the skin, red light is just amazing. I always do mine in my sauna, because then that way, again, I'm layering the hacks, saving time, more ROI. I'm always about that.
We call this stacking our biohacks, right?
Yes.
Talk about stacking your supplements. We stack our biohacks. But I really would love to see biohacking get just like a little bit more beautiful and a little bit more sexy and a little bit more attractive. So I'm actually working on something pretty cool behind the scenes, and it's going to be awesome. I'm working on a few very special things behind the scenes. So stay tuned.
Okay. Well, be sure to let me know so I can test them out.
Oh, you know I will. All right, Vanessa, where can people find you? How can they work with you? And do you have any closing words for our session here today on the Rachel Varga podcast?
Well, people can find me on my website, vanessagrutman.com. I send a monthly newsletter that's packed with like free tips, blogs, and lots of goodies in there. Like we talked about, I run the 7-day detox group, which is free. And then otherwise I hang out on Instagram. You can come and say hi and DM me with any questions. I love to connect with, high achieving women. That's what I do. I help them reclaim their health. And if you want to apply for health coaching one-on-one, I open a few spots every month. So you can apply again through my website. And in closing, I want to thank you for shining bright and for inviting me to have this really beautiful conversation. I am so thrilled and excited that you are in the midst of building a human and expanding your family and your legacy.
And just to preface this, no, I'm not pregnant, but like
you're not, but you're working on it. Preconception.
Well, I'm just working on like getting my body right. And in the process, I'm getting the best hair, skin, and nails of my life.
Of course you are, because your body is just in like, it's up leveling. And, I think that's something that's so underrated. So let that be my closing word. If you are in preconception mode, every little thing that you can do matters. Switching your water source matters. Protecting yourself from EMF matters. The 1% change that you think, oh, it's not going to make anything, will compound over time and make a huge impact on this little human. So kudos.
Thank you. And if you want to be high achieving, your brain better be working, right?
And that's one thing I discovered personally. I had to burn myself out to realize that I couldn't magnetize any of my dreams anymore. I was just running on empty. And so I've learned to, refill my cup, empty my rain barrels so that I can really align and manifest anything I want.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that closing sentiment. And I will just add to that, for me to really get my cup filled, I had to completely deplete it. Do the cleansing, do it a very depleting, but highly energizing and evolving and up-leveling fast, to now feel like, whoa, limitless, right? So if we want to be our best versions, we want to show up and have beautiful interactions with ourselves, people, places, and things, what we talk about here on the show will help you achieve just that. And in the process, you're going to be a great human, and you're going to slow your aging in the process. Like you said, Vanessa, this 1% here, this 1% here, this 1% here. Yeah, you'll feel it with your energy. You'll feel it with your spirit. Maybe you'll even get some more intuitive insights, right? A lot of listeners here are intuitive empaths, really sensitive, awesome humans, in tune with their environment, want to do good work in the world. That's why you're here. If you'd like to learn more about today's show, be sure to check out the description of this episode. There's ways that you can work with both Vanessa and I. I would love to meet with you. If you have any questions from today's show, I warmly invite you to email me, info@rachelvarga.com. I personally do not live in my social media DMs, but I do live in my email. So all my client care questions, if you have any questions about skincare, what you could do, say with your dermal rolling, your skincare routines at home, hair, skin, nail supplements, hair care, grooming, I've got you. I've got lots of ways that I can support you. Everything is at rachelvarga.ca. Have an amazing rest of the day, everybody. Stay high vibe, stay radiant, and appreciate the beauty around you today in nature.